back at Disneyland. Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and the rivers of America. It's good to be back. And of course, across from the rivers of America, the one and only fantastic New Orleans Square. Today I'm going to tell you about one incredible historic detail that no one in their right mind would even notice. Luckily, you're here with a crazy person, me. It's gonna take a minute to get there, but the history can completely change the way we see this part of the park and let us truly appreciate the fascinating attention to detail here. Tony Hawk? Little details, little nods to the past and to history abound in this little region of the park. For example, you ever notice that all the railings in New Orleans Square contain these? Looks kind of like ship's wheels, doesn't it? Huh? Avast there. Ooh, look at that one. That's the big one. But while I love little details, you guys know the thing that really gets me going is history. Established all the way back in 1718 by a French trading company, New Orleans is older than the United States itself and was originally a part of France. A real Frenchman. But in 1763, after the 7 Years' War, or as we crazy Americans like to call it, the French and Indian War, the French actually signed over New Orleans to the Spanish, leading to a very spicy period in New Orleans history. Olé! In fact, it was during this period that most of the French Quarter in New Orleans was built. So even though it's traditionally the French Quarter, it's sort of Spanish-ish, maybe a mix. I'm confused. Anyway, in 1800, France took back those vast American territories from their former Spanish buddies in the hopes of starting an American empire. But just a few years later, in 1803, facing war with Britain and a bunch of revolts overseas, Napoleon Bonaparte, dynamite, decided to scrap those plans and sell it all to the USA. Since all that territory was called the Louisiana Territory, the purchase of it was called the Louisiana Purchase, and it was kind of a big deal. 828,000 square miles of land. That's over 2 million kilometers. Kilometers? 15 future US states for only $15 million. That's a heck of a deal. So what does all that have to do with Disneyland? Well, the building in which the Louisiana Purchase transfer was completed was called the Cabildo building, and it directly inspired the facade of one of the most popular attractions of all time, Pirates of the Caribbean. The Cabildo building still stands in New Orleans as a museum today, and while it's not a one-to-one direct replica, you can definitely see the strong influence the Cabildo building had on the Pirates facade, which means every day thousands of people walking in those doors to take a cruise with some pirates are actually walking through an homage to our nation's history and one of the biggest land deals of all time. Now, in addition to housing pirates downstairs, this building also holds the Disney Dream Suite upstairs. We don't have time to get into the whole thing, but originally that was supposed to be an apartment for Walt and Roy Disney. It was still under construction when New Orleans Square opened to the public on July 24th, 1966. Sadly though, Walt Disney passed away just a few months later that December. For years it sat empty until it started operating as the Disney Gallery, a place to showcase concept art for Disneyland and various paintings, art shows, etc. But in 2008, the 2,200 square foot apartment was finally completed and reopened as the Disney Dream Suite, filled with all kinds of first-class Disney swanky luxury goodness. A few people every year get to spend the night here inside that Dream Suite. I want to turn. Even though the Disney Brothers' private apartment was never completed after Walt's death, there is still a nod to the past right on the balcony. Just above the Royal Street veranda, which has delicious gumbo by the way, these golden designs are actually the initials of Walt and Roy Disney. Originally intended as just an extra piece of decoration for their private apartment, it now stands as a memorial to what could have been. All of this goes to underscore the fact that Disneyland just isn't your typical amusement park. It's a masterpiece, and it's layered with all kinds of historical references and little details and nods to the past. It's truly fascinating every step you take. Pictures with strangers. Thank you for joining me on this look at some of the lesser known little historical tidbits and Easter eggs of New Orleans Square. I know it was a little heavy on the history side, but we've got all kinds of more shenanigans and videos on our channel, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time for some more zany adventures. Bye bye! Pirate store, pirates. Well, the building in which the deal was made and the deed for the Louisiana Purchase. Whoops, Tina Fey. Oh, and make sure you check out our website for some more zany stuff from me and some of my even zanier compadres. And check down below in the description, there's all kinds of links about New Orleans Square, the Cabildo building, and all kinds of this history stuff if you're interested. Alright, see you next time.
A grapefruit.